Tell me about yourself, like who you are and where does Pro Mortgage come from?
So my name is Quibus Nell. I am a bond originator. So SA Home Loans, my career started there in 2009. I was a sales consultant and also executive consultant after 2 years being with SA Home Loans. And for 13 years I was with them. My last year I was the marketing manager of the Western Cape, and based on my experience, I think I know this industry quite well.
Quibus, I think you're being a bit modest over there. Do you want to tell us a bit more detailed about your performance back at SA Home Loans? Or how much money did you make for them?
I am quite proud of my record at SA Home Loans. To be an executive consultant at SA Home Loans, you have to end in the top 10 in the country. And I was an executive consultant for 9 years in a row, until I basically went out of sales. I went on 9 CEO incentive trips, and I think the highest I ended was third in the country. But I think my total figure stood at roughly 1.3 billion rands worth of business that I've submitted to SA Home Loans, and that was accepted.
That is an achievement and a half, and you can put a feather in your hat, knowing that that's what you achieved. And everyone else who wants to do business through you, they can be well informed and feel so comfortable knowing that Quibus has this experience, right? I think the viewers or the listeners really watching this can really be comforted knowing that you come with a whole lot of experience and you know what you're doing. So, but you know what, Quibus, some of the, and again, if the listeners are listening, they know that I'm a real estate agent and I sell property, and I usually ask them, hey, do you have a bond originator doing it? And most of them, they actually do not know what a bond originator is. In your words, from your perspective, and in reality, what is a bond originator?
It's someone that originates a bond on your behalf with the bank. You know, a home loan is most probably the biggest investment you'll ever make in your life. So why would you try and do this on your own? If you can get an expert in the field that's basically doing this every day, the beauty of a bond originator is you as the client don't pay for them, and the bank will pay him his fee. Over the years, South Africans, they are a very loyal nation. Okay, so a lot of times I would get the comment, I've been banking with Standard Bank since I've been 8 years old. You know, all my business is with Standard Bank. My cars are financed through Standard Bank, and my salary goes into Standard Bank. So I'm going to go to my own banker and my private banker, and I'm going to apply because Standard Bank has my back. Unfortunately, it is different departments within the bank. A home loan is a whole different department. A car finance, credit card, every department is on their own, and there's a different criteria for each of these departments. So yes, you know, the banks, the retail banks, will always look at their own clients with so because they've got all the information, they will try and assist their own clients. But it's such a complex application that you have to know how to present the file, and you can make such a small mistake, and that will cost you this house. So bond originators, with one application form, only one form, they can submit to all 5. Well, I say 5, I'm including investing, at once. Now, this makes healthy competition. Because remember, Standard Bank's got your back, yes. But ABSA would like your business. So yeah, a bond originator can go to all 5 and they go there at once and they send all 5 the different offers. And then it becomes a negotiation. And then you as client know that I did get the best deal. Because if you did not do that, the bank could have just made you an offer of whatever they will. You're going to sign it and accept it because my bank approved it. But was that really the best deal? And that's where the bond originator should come in.
While you were speaking, I thought back of the process I went through when I applied for my home loan about 2 years ago. And I never banked with Nedbank at all. I banked with another bank. And what was interesting is Nedbank actually gave me a really good rate, better than my bank that I was banking at. So now I'm a fully fledged Nedbank banker because they said, if you're going to bank with me, I'm going to give you a preferential rate, which they did. I was happy with it, and I worked my figures out, and it seems like it was a better deal anyway. Was it Nedbank that just was hungry for the business, or was it actually my loan originator who was negotiating on my behalf? And that, I think, leads into my next question. Why should we use you as in Pro Mortgage?
So why use Pro Mortgage? Pro Mortgage is owned by myself. We've got a nice little team. And I think the biggest reason is I absolutely love what I do. I'm passionate about this business. I'm passionate about home loans. And I've got this experience in the field, and I know exactly how to present a file to the bank. I know what they are looking for. I know what they use to mitigate the risk. I know when to negotiate with whom in order and how to negotiate. So let's take a simple example. I applied for this client and everybody declined the client. But I've got he banks with Nedbank. So I go to Nedbank, I do a full motivation, and Nedbank offers me 85%. I know this is most probably let's say a professional. So then I take the 85% and I go to Standard Bank. So listen, do you want this client based on X, Y, and Z? Look at his portfolio, look at his balance sheet, look at the money in this account or that account. This can be a great client for Standard Bank. Standard Bank now all of a sudden offers me 90 because they see Nedbank is prepared to offer 80. Then from there on, I'll go back to Nedbank. Say, oh, do you really want to lose this client? Standard Bank now offered a 90 and they move up to 95. And we go up and up and up until I get the client the best deal or the best rate. Now, if you go to my competitor, they can all just go to the same credit analyst that I'm going to. I don't have some other credit person I can ask. It all goes to the same credit department. It all goes to the same credit criteria. But what are their negotiation skills? How is the relationship between them and the bank? You know, how much business do they submit a month? If you go to a big organization, a big bond originator, they've got a little bit more pull than the other one because they're submitting higher volumes. And for the banks, it's all about market share. So I also know the insights and the tricks of the trade. When do you submit the application? When do you do the motivation? To whom do you do the motivation? How to look through financials? Do you understand the legal entity and the rules regarding a legal entity? So there's so many aspects that can play a role and that affects the presentation. But luckily, with my 1.5 billion rands worth of business, where I most probably looked through 5 billion worth of business, because SA Home Loans can't do every bond. So I most probably looked at 5 to 10 billion rands worth of business to write this 1.5 because of their small market share. Now, all of a sudden, in only 4 months, I did over 100 million at the retail banks because I understand the system so well.
Also, just with regards to an estate agent is an estate agent, right? If you work for one of the bigger organizations, when I say the bigger, I'm saying the more popular ones versus next door Realty, we all use the same portals, we use the same platforms, we valuate properties the same. And the difference is that person, that agent, that's the difference. That's why people must use me, because I'm different than the other agent, right? Next door working for the other company. So when I go out and I do business, it's extremely transparent. It is personal. I build a relationship with them. What is your value proposition?
My experience in the field has taught me that you have 4 important points in this transaction. You've got the client, you've got the agent, you've got the transferring attorney, you've got the bond attorney. And you as the bond originator is actually the middle. You should facilitate this whole transaction. You are the one that keeps the agent at the beginning. It's you and the agent that shows the client the correct property to buy within his price range. While you've done the interview, make sure that it's not just for the maximum he can qualify, but also the maximum he's prepared to pay in his personal budget. There's a sweet spot for everybody. What is the process? I mean, it's a very overwhelming process for someone that's not in the industry. There's attorneys phoning you, there's transfer duty, there's COCs, there's plumbing, electrical. I mean, it's a nightmare if it's the first time you buy. So you need a professional that is doing this every day, and that you can feel this bond originator, he's got my back. My slogan is the private banking experience. Not that I always feel the private banking in our country is private banking, but with me, you've got that specific person you can phone. Is this a legit attorney? Is this actually the way it should go? Who pays for the transfer duty? So the transparency from my side, you can WhatsApp me at 10, you can send me a voice note, you can send me a picture. You know, I'm with you all the way to the end in this process. And I live by that. I love my industry, and that is what you can hold me to it. That's my SLA, you know.
And I can vouch for that. I mean, just on Saturday past, I sent you someone's name and number to contact, and immediately you were on it. Immediately you gave me feedback. Again on Sunday, you said, Wesley, this is the latest update. Today, again, we were in communication with a specific client. So I can truly vouch for that. And Kobus, what I want to say is just my experience working with you for this very short period, rather, that transparency of communication and that level of service that you're speaking about now, I've experienced. So again, anyone else listening, if there's any other agents listening to this interview, I challenge you to challenge me on what Kobus just mentioned. I promise you, he will deliver. And then if there's people listening, consumers listening who wants a pre-approval, please reach out to me. I'm going to put a link somewhere. I don't know where I'm going to put a link yet, but I'll put a link somewhere. Pass me your name and your contact telephone numbers. I will get your contact details over to Kobus, and he will contact you. Kobus, last question before we close quickly. So, okay, a consumer needs a pre-approval letter, right? Or a pre-approval certificate. Why do we need a pre-approval certificate? What is a pre-approval versus a pre-approval certificate?
So I was talking about that sweet spot, you know, where your budget and your pre-qualification meets. So I get a lot of clients that would say, what's the maximum I qualify for? And I say, okay, so what do you add? So the first rule on a pre-qualification is the 50% rule. You're allowed to spend up to 50% of your combined gross income, or your gross income, depending, of course, if it's an individual or combined. So let's say you earn 50,000 Rand. a month. So now you take 30% of that, which is 9. The easiest way to say is, all right, 9,000 is equal to 900,000 Rand loan amount. But currently you are renting for 3,000 Rand a month. And your personal budget, when I ask you, what are you currently paying rent? 3,000. All right. So are you saving 6,000 Rand a month at the moment? Because you're prepared to go to 9. No, not at all. Okay, but what are you comfortable with? Now we can go up to 5 because the rental is increasing next month and it's going to 3,500. So if it's our own place, we are willing to go to 5. So, all right. So just remember, if you buy your own property, there's rates and taxes involved. Sometimes there's bond protection involved. There's insurances, stuff that can go wrong. So then all of a sudden the 5,000 is actually worth a loan of 500,000. You qualify for 900, but you can afford 500. There's a big difference. So the pre-qualification, if it's done correctly, it takes into consideration the client and the agent and the house they are viewing, and then be transparent on, listen, I know you love this house, but at 700,000, you are not going to get to the budget of 5,000. And that transparency will also help your agent to take the better offer to his seller and not just accept the first offer, because, you know, I get people that pull out at the last minute. Say, no, sorry, I didn't realize the bond installment is going to be 8,000. The pre-qualification wasn't done properly. So it is not a pre-approval. That certificate that you do on the internet or get, and it's just based on the figures that you provided, that is not a pre-approval. It's still subject to the bank. You have to go all the way to credit. You can't just say that's a pre-approval. That's an estimation.
How long does it take to get that pre-approval certificate, typically?
A proper one, I need at least a day because I need to work through the supporting documents.
And is that typical for the competitors as well?
I believe that I have now gotten a client that is interested, and if I help him good enough in that, he will become a client somewhere in his life. So I do put the effort in and I do it properly. I don't just do on the internet and type in some figures.
Does a pre-approval certificate expire?
It does expire in 3 months according to the certificate that's issued, but it can also be outdated within a week because you could have resigned your job, the interest rate could have gone up, you could have been retrenched, could have, your medical aid installment could have changed. There's so many things that plays a role.
So Cobus, thank you so much for your time. I absolutely enjoyed it. It was a real privilege to be able to have this conversation with you. And everyone listening, if you need a pre-approval, please do reach out to me. I'll send a link somewhere. Again, you'll see the link where you can click on it. Give me your name, surname, telephone number, and I'll get Cobus to reach out to you. Cobus, have an awesome day. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you, Wesley. I really appreciate the call.